Hello, good day everyone. Sir Kevin here again, and welcome to our project management class. And the last time we talked about risk and returns or trade-off analysis, and also the risk management. So that topic talks about when you decide for something, there will be alternatives that will be compromised, or those alternatives na hindi mapipili. And you might be laying off something outside of those opportunities. But the reality is, even in economics, in your microeconomics, pag-usapan naman na um, we must pick the best alternative. So that's the trade-off analysis, and that also involves the risk. So you need to manage uh, to avert those risks. So this session we'll talk about, ladies and gentlemen, uh, the learning curve. The learning curve. There are things that are fixed in a project. No, there are things that are fixed in a project. Ano yung mga fixed dyan? Uh, Concurrently, the time is fixed depending on the situation, but you have that fixed resource that if you have that target date of completion, then it should be it. Okay, but your money as well, uh, your money as well, uh, or the budget or the funds might be fixed in so many instances. Your machine production, your technical resources has that fixed production, not the capacity to create or to produce, no, those technical resources. And even demand hours might be fixed, no, ilang oras nagtatrabaho yung empleyado, no but the number of produced units are not, no. Dito pa sa ideya natin in the learning curve, no, that a person or a human is capable of learning, no. Ang sabi nga uh, life doesn't get easier. Life doesn't get easier. You just got stronger. Ibig sabihin, natututo ka in each and every time. So, kung dati, it takes time para mag-drawing ka or magsulat ka, nung bata ka pa, ang tagal mo magsulat. Now, bilang matured or as an adult individual, you can create an essay, or you can answer those questions that is relevant to that learning curve idea. So without much further ado, let's discuss learning curve and its relationship in project management. So what's a learning curve? So in the past, no, it has been used in competitive bidding that has become an integral part of a project management responsibility in many industries. A multitude of estimating techniques, no? So when you estimate, sabi ko nga minsan fix yung resources mo, no? Just like the technical, the time, no? And the budget. At some point, fix din yung man hours, but the capabilities of doing more ay nasa tao yan, no. So minsan doon sila nagkamali, no. Okay, for a small firm, this overrun could lead to a financial disaster. That is why, no, you should consider understanding the learning curve. No, so what is the learning curve? So the theory of learning curve is, it means the experience curves, no, are based on the old adage that practice makes perfect. So katagalan, mas marami kang magagawa, mas masasanay ka. So a product can always be manufactured better and in a shorter period, not only for the second time. So habang tumatagal ay mas nakakabisado mo yung learning curve, no? This concept is highly applicable to labor-intensive projects, no, such as those in manufacturing where labor forecasting has been tedious and time-consuming effort, no? Tulad nung nasa construction, kadalasan ang pinakamatagal na araw ay yung first day, no? Dahil they tend to see where are the resources are, and habang tumatagal, they can locate those resources para mas madali mong ma-access and dumali yung trabaho. So that's the idea. So, na-experience mo, natututo ka, and you get to adjust with it. Okay? So, ang sabi nga nila, nung, nung una kasi hindi mo pa naiintindihan, kanya nga ayaw mo. Pero habang natututo ka, habang tumatagal, mas natututo ka at naiintindihan mo siya. No? Soon na nalalaman mo at nagugustuhan mo. Okay? So, today's executives often measure the profitability of a corporation as a function of market share. No? Let me talk about this. That frequently that profitability always talks about yung mas maraming kita, more revenues, no? O nga naman, pag mas maraming kita, mas maraming tubo, no? Okay? But many markets, no, should try to do this, no? Should try to do the learning curve. What does that learning curve helps, no? Uh, by lowering the unit cost or the production cost, 'di ba? Ang ibig sabihin ng profit is revenues minus expenses. So kung dumami yung revenues mo at konti yung expenses, or variable yan, sumama expenses, malaki pa rin yung kita mo. But the profitability margin also talks about kung ikaw ay kahit hindi tumaas yung revenue mo, as long as nabawasan yung income mo, that's also tantamount to profitability. And you need to study that, no? So nakadepende yan. So take a look at that in the presentation. This increase in efficiencies referred to economies of scales, no? So paano ba yan? Uh, that companies build large manufacturing plants so that it lowers the unit cost, no? So nung maliit pa lang yan, maliit yung capabilities nila, minsan mas mahal. And habang tumatagal na realize mo that if you invest on this machineries, equipment, people, and training, no? So nagde-decrease yung cost mo sa kanila, no? So it pays back, ang sabi nga, no? So what's that learning curve concept? Experience curves are based on the old adage, yun nga. Sorry, na typo yata tayo. Learning curves stipulate that manufacturing man hours, specifically direct labor, will decline each time a company doubles its output. So habang tumatagal at sinusubukan niyang maparami yung production niya, ay mas kokonti yung time na nagagamit, no? So ibig sabihin nito, kapag gumawa ka ng 10 unit, no, sa isang oras, that doesn't mean that you will make, no, that you will make one you will make 20 units in 2 hours. Minsan mas mababa pa doon because of that experience. Nasasanay ka na, nagagamay mo na siya, no? This is also in connection with the idea of the guitar, no? Yung kapag tumitipa ka sa guitar, yung mga chords, no? Yung mga chords, you get to be hurt of that chords, no? Yung paano mo siya itipa or ipwesto yung mga kamay mo. At habang tumatagal, nasasanay ka at bumibilis yung paglipat mo, no? So that's the idea there. Typically, learning curve produce a cost and time saving, no? It's not just the cost but also the time, no? So okay, as an example, consider the data shown in the table, which represent a company operating on a 75% learning curve. So what's that 75% learning curve? That means whenever you produce or double the production, you get to have 75% 75% of that total cost or total time, no? Look at that. So for unit 1, no, for 1 unit of cumulative production, you will be needing 812 man hours. So yun nakikita ninyo sa taas. So it's 812, pero kapag ginawa mo yung dalawa, you'll just be having 609 man hours, no? So that's 75% of 812. So cumulatively 812 plus 609, that's 1421 man hours. So it will not take you 1,600 man hours pag dinoble mo yung production. So what does that mean? Realistically, kung titingnan mo, you get to produce it no? Dahil nakaayos na yung mga gamit, 'di ba? Nakaayos na yung mga gamit at isasalang mo na lang siya. That is why, no, habang tumatagal ay mas bumibilis ka, no? So, take a look at that in the when things are doubled like that, production for 20 and production for 40, no, the total man hours is 234 at magiging 176 yung total man hours kung dinoble mo siya. So that's uh, per unit. Okay? So that will happen. And how does it look? Mamaya makikita natin. Paano itsura nung learning curve na yan. So what does that the learning curve tells the management? No? In project management, ano yung naitutulong ng learning curve? The time required to perform a task decreases as the task is repeated. No? Okay? So sinasabi sa management that in practice, kapag lagi niyang ginagawa yan, mas nasasanay siya. The amount of improvement decreases as more units are produced. So habang dumadami yung pinoproduce mo, no, yung improvement ay kumukonti. And the rate of improvement has sufficient consistency to allow its use as a prediction tool. So you can also predict, no, yung outcome and the cost. If you remember our past topics about the estimating prices, not just about the overhead and the direct labor, but also you might be considering how much or the man hours, no, how much time will it take to produce that. Remember, per man hour may sinusweldohan ka, no? So when you have that effective learning curve forecast, no, you can able to determine cost na pwede mo pang mapababa. Okay? So ito itsura ng learning curve, no? Habang gumagawa ka ng mas konti, no? Habang gumagawa ka ng mas konti, kung makikita niyo tong lecture, no? Ay mas mataas yung cost per unit. Sir, bakit cost per unit? 'Di ba dapat manpower? Man hour. No, yung labor. Yes, tama ka, no? You can also replace that in man hour, no? But pinag-uusapan natin dito is the costing. Ano ba yung involved sa man hour, no? So man hour is tantamount to costing, so the price or the direct labor. So let us assume that $1 na lang or let's say 1 peso na lang ang man hour, peso per man hour, no? So sa bawat oras isang piso, no? So nakikita nyo to that kung isa lang ang gagawin mo, medyo mataas yung distribution ng cost, no? So that's 900 and 1 unit. At habang dumadami yung ginagawa niya, yan nakikita nyo to sa baba, that 20, 30, bumababa yung cost as you can see, no? So bumababa siya. Okay? So that's how learning curve is telling the management. No? So what are the keywords associated with learning curves? The slope of the curve or the rate of learning or learning rate. No? Constant rate of improvement. That means ano yung pinaka-average niya on the development, no? So kanina sa case natin that's 75%, no? So what's unit 1, no? So unit 1 is the first unit of product actually completed during the production run. So how much time did it take, no? By the way, lagi natin pinag-uusapan yung vaccine production as a project, no, sa project management. And you might be thinking about this that yung mga unang production mabagal. And soon you can create that more production, no? They can do more bigger number of production, no? Ganon din sa mga phones, yung mga unang mga phones, no? Because of that learning curve, yung mga unang labas ang gamit nila is market scheming, pricing strategy because mahal talaga yung unang ma-produce nila. But soon after na gumagaling sila, nakaka-devise sila ng pwedeng improve, mas kumokonti yung price at malaya na silang mag-price ng mas mababa as well. No? So, involved yan sa marketing management and pricing strategies. Okay? That's unit 1. Cumulative average hours. So, what's the average hours that it will take? So, the average hours expended per unit for all units produced through any given unit. So, yung total na unit na pinag-uusapan natin, no? Kung ilang kung ilang unit at yung total ng unit na yon is the cumulative average hour. So, how much did it take to produce, let's say, 10 units? So, yun, that's cumulative. Okay? So, dumodoble lang po siya, sorry. Okay? Um, so, those are the most important keywords, no? Sa um, associated with learning curve. So, the greatest benefit of learning curves lies in the story they tell when plotted on paper. So, ano yung itsura? No? Ano yung development? Okay? So, I would like to show you something later para mapag-isipan natin yung isang idea na banggit kanina, no? Okay. So, the cumulative average curve, no? So, it's common practice to plot the learning curve on log-log paper. Now, what's that log-log paper? It's kung baga nagsusulat ka, no? Pinaplot mo siya. No, but to calculate the cumulative average from the following formula. So that's tx and t1 x raised to negative k. So makikita natin yan. Where tx is direct labor hours per unit. No? Direct hours, labor hours per unit. And T1 is the direct labor hours for the first unit. So that's the unit 1, yun yung T1. Okay? And then X means the cumulative unit produced. No, so it's cumulative is the total. And then negative K is a factor derived from the slope of the experience curve. There are substitute for this. Makikita niyo dito. Okay? So these are the typical values for exponents K, no? What are those exponent K? So learning curve, kung ang learning curve mo is 100%, no? That means it doesn't change any. It doesn't change any. So it's 100%. So ngayon, habang pababa meron siyang substitute value. So kapag 95% ang learning curve ninyo, no? So it's equivalent to 0.074, 90 so, 0.152. So these are the variances, no, ng exponent k dun sa cumulative average. So how does it look? So take a look at this. So as an example, no, uh, as an example, consider the situation where the first unit requires 812 hours. No? And the company is performing at a 75% learning curve. So, 75% learning curve. So, that's tantamount to, as you can see, 0.415. No? So, here it is. That's the K exponent. No? And then here, the time that's TX, di ba? Time and yung pinaka oras na cumulative time na pinag-uusapan. So that's 250. So pinag-uusapan, how much time will it take, no? How much time will it take per unit cumulatively, no, per unit, no? So time 250 to the 250th unit, no, equals yung cumulative hours of or the actual hours produced for the first unit. Makikita mo yan, yung first unit, 812 times number, that's the quantity, that's x, no, 250. Okay, so that's 250. So raised to that variance, 0.415. So it's equivalent to 82 hours. So that means the 250th unit is done just 82 hours. No, it took 812 hours for the first unit, but at the 250th unit, it just took 82 hours. Okay? So, now let's talk about the sources of experiences, no, or changes, no, changes in the learning curve, experience curves, no, learning or experience curve. First is the labor efficiency, no, natuto yung tao, which is hindi masyadong pwedeng qualitative, but you can study outputs para makita ninyo yung improvement. Number 2, work specialization and methods improvement. So, nagbago ka ng procedures or you put a more skilled than an experienced person. Then, new production process. Nagbago ka ng process. no? At meron kang in-eliminate. And even the design, product design, no, redesign. So may binago ka para mas mapadali siya. Getting better performance from production equipment. So ibig sabihin, mas maintained o kaya mas naka-condition yung mga equipment mo. So it might be kasi baka dati low class o kaya hindi well maintained, no? And changes in the resources mix, na nagbago yung resources mo, the funds, the time, binago yung constraints, so sa how many time, how many hours do they work, no, and among any others, the management decisions, product standardization, so nagkaroon ng standardization, mas napabilis yung trabaho, yun nga, redesign, and incentives, no? Ito yung, again, it's not just it cannot be quantified, yung incentives and this incentives. What you can study, it's the effect of incentives into the motivation of your employees. Okay? So, ang hinahanap kasi ng learning curve is you can able to do that economies of scales. That means, makikita mo yung may spread out mo yung gastos. So, the use of the learning curve is dependent on the methods of recording costs that companies employ. An accounting statistical record must be devised by a company so that data are available for learning curve purposes. Otherwise, it may be impossible to construct a learning curve. No, kasi kailangan meron kang data. Kanina, hindi po ginawa lang yung mga information but it is given. Given na sila, no? Para makita ko kung nagbabago nga o natututo nga, no? So you keep on track, no? Para makita ko yung bagong unit costs, no? Okay? And then we have limitations of learning curve. And one limitation is the learning curve does not continue forever. Walang forever. Ganon din sa learning curve, no? So the percentage decline in hours, dollars diminishes over time, no? So parang law of marginal utility or diminishing returns that habang tumatagal, yung mga una nasa-satisfy ka, tumataas si level satisfaction at darating yung araw na bababa yan. The same thing with the theory of gravitational force. What comes up must come down, no? Okay? So, it diminishes through time and the learning curve knowledge gained on one product may not be extendable to other products unless exist shared experiences. Yon, kung merong common denominator, pwede yung learning curve. Pero kung magkaiba naman yung mga products and the project, hindi naman pwedeng gawin yung learning curve. So, should be having the same denominator. Cost data may not be readily available, of course. Hindi ganun kadali to keep up with those costs. But bigger companies has those tracks. No? They can track those records. And then, quantity discounts can distort the costs and perceived benefits of learning curves. Minsan it will distract the analysis. Mas maraming resources mas maraming resources, that's quantity discount, merong mga nagbabago sa quantity. So inflation must be expressed in constant dollars, otherwise the gains realized from experience may be neutralized, no? So kasali yung inflation dyan because direct labor hours and overhead hours plus the cost of materials also are affected by inflation. So let's say kung tumaas man yung production pero dahil mataas pa rin yung cost of resources and cost of labor, parehas din, it will be neutralized. No, you cannot achieve that purpose yung sinabi natin kanina, no? So learning curves are most useful on long-term horizons. On short-term horizons, benefits perceived may not be the results of learning curve, no? Learning is a long-term process, sabi nga ng Philadelphia 76ers, trust the process, no? Hindi ka man magaling ngayon, soon makikita nila yung worth mo. So hindi naman basta-basta yan, no? External influences such as limitation on materials, patents, and other government regulations. So these are external factors na. Then concept annual production, no growth may have limiting experience effect after a few years. So I would like to highlight this, no, that hindi siya forever, sabi nga kanina, no? Take a look at this table. As you can see, no? Kapag dinoble ko yung mga unang units, kapag dinoble ko yung production, it just takes uh, let's say yun, 600, 200 less, no? 200 less. But look at this. Pag pag-abot ko ng unit 800 to 840, mas konti na yung effect sa hours. Look at this. Yung 40, look, let's compare this. From yung 60 units at saka 100 units, it has about 12, I think, no? 100 unit takes 120 hours. 60 units takes 148 hours. Now, compare mo sa 800 sa 840. Ang difference lang, no? Ang difference lang is 1 hour, no? So ibig sabihin, nagdi-diminish, no? Merong point ang learning curve, no? There's a point in the learning curve na bumababa na yung level nung pagtaas nung production, or at the very least yung pagkatuto o yung pagbilis pala na pagbilis ng production, no? So um, that's it, no? Hours in this units. By the way, uh, it's not conclusive to that, no? Kasi pinakita ko lang na yung pagbabago in the number of hours kung napoproduce. In reality, kung makikita ninyo, ay, it just only take 50 hours to do one. It just take 50 hours to do one work, no? Pero ang sinasabi ko lang dito, what I am trying to point out is there will be point, no, in the production or in the learning curve na hindi na siya nagmo-move or mabagal na yung movement niya, no, yung pagkatuto, no? Katulad natin, pag matatanda na tayo, pagdating ng araw, pag matatanda ka na, wala ka nang mapasok sa utak mo na skills. Sabi nga, habang tumatanda ka, no, mas mahirap matuto ng life skills. So habang bata kayo, habang kaya nyo pa, no, natitraining kayo, you put your hours there, man hours there. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you on to the next one. God bless.